email geeks? Welcome into the Kevin Mandeville Show, live here on YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Give a subscribe right here on YouTube. You can smash a button below or go to my email list, kevinmandeville.com/newsletter. Get updates. I hope you are much warmer than I am. It is freaking freezing out here in the Northeast. It's cold. I got my nice warm toque hat on. If you don't know, this is like a fun little sock hat. Very stylish, over 30 different styles, very warm. Fun fact, Pook is my nickname because of this hat. That's how I got my nickname over at my time at Litmus. But all right, enough of that. Let's get into some email news, and we got some interesting stuff to get to. We got to kick things off today talking about Google being the first major tech giant being fined for GDPR, nearly $57 million for the first major violation of the new European policy. So to French regulators, they wasted no time in investigating them. They said that Google failed to fully disclose to users how their personal information is collected and what happens to it. Google also did not properly obtain users' consent for the purpose of showing them personalized ads. And they started investigating them on day one, which was very interesting. This is what the article noted. GDPR went into effect May 25th. The agency started investigating them right away based off some other privacy groups sort of filing concerns, complaints. That group also filed additional privacy complaints against Facebook and its subsidiaries of Instagram and WhatsApp. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, this is coming down from the EU, the agency, the CNIL or the CNIL. I like CNIL. Let's go CNIL. So interesting news here. GDPR coming into effect. I guess I was 1 year too early when I said there'd be a major brand involved with Castle because Castle had updated. But yeah, GDPR. I didn't think we would see major violations or fines levied this early. I mean, we are less than 1 year out already. And that is, I mean, obviously for Google, that's probably pocket change, 57 million in the grand scheme of things. But I would say that's a pretty good punch, a pretty good blow to let everybody know in the EU, they are not playing around. So congrats. If you had Google in the GDPR pool for first GDPR violation, you win. Let's see if there's any others to come about here in the near term future. All right. Aweber did an interesting little study of 1,000 emails from sort of top experts. And so it was really a copywriting analysis for the most part. Some interesting stats I wanted to dive to. They looked at average email length. So of the 1,000 emails, they found that there's about 434 words on average, which is about a 3.3 minute read. More than 50% of the emails contain 300 words or less. So we're seeing the majority of them have shorter, more minimal content in their emails, more bite-sized, digestible content, which I would say is stereotypically for most people is probably a good idea, the right way to go. But they also found that 24% of the emails analyzed contained 601 words or more, and 11% had 900 words or more, which that is almost 7 minutes of read time for those 900 plus words. And what I like about this is that they said how to choose they had this section here, how to choose your email length, because it's not necessarily good or bad. It depends on what type of email you're sending to and who your audience is. It's all contextual. Ann Hanley here said, she has on average, her newsletters contain 1,800 words, which is about a 14-minute read. But that works really well for her audience. She sends it every other week, and it's just a chock full newsletter full of information. So it really depends on your use case. It depends on your audience. So it's something you should test with your audience. But I would say if you're really trying to focus in on just getting clicks to the landing page and engagement, that shorter content is going to work here better for you. They also looked at the average character count of a subject line. On average, there's 43.85 characters in an email. 82% of the emails had 60 characters or less. And to be honest with you, this is actually where I do have a strong recommendation to go as short as you possibly can. And the reason for this is so that your subject line does not get truncated in any email clients, especially mobile email clients when you're dealing with more limited widths, limited real estate. So, that's an issue, is that if you're subject line is too long, it'll get cut off. It won't make sense. It won't be contextual. So I'm always a big advocate, given that, of trying to keep it as short as possible, concise as possible, apart from just creating an easier to read sort of message. I would try to keep your subject line shorter and then make your preview text go a bit longer because you have that available space to you. Again, that's not to say that you can't ever use longer subject lines, and some I bet would test better and perform better. But just from in terms of making sure your subject line gets read as intended in the inbox, that's probably the best. There's a tool in Litmus called Subject Line Checker. If you're in Litmus Builder, you can go to the view option in the menu and then click on Subject Line Checker. And this was actually created, or the initial demo was created by Austin Woodall back in the day, and it was just for Gmail and like the iPhone app. But we sort of took it. We had him work on it to expand it. It has a whole bunch of clients. It's a little outdated at this point. It hasn't been updated, so it's a little outdated, but it's the only email tool out there that lets you do real-time simulation of what subject lines and preview text look like in the inbox. So in terms of just having a rough idea of how your subject line and preview text length is doing, this is the best tool at your disposal. So definitely check out that tool. It might be of help to you. Let's see what else. I was surprised about this one. They said that only 6.9% of subject lines contained emojis. I thought it would be much higher than that. Especially, maybe it's just the emails I subscribe to, and I'm, speaking anecdotally, I feel like there's a much higher level of usage in that. Maybe also it would have been more interesting if they looked at not just subject lines, but preview text as well. I know that even I, in my emails, am maybe more likely to use emojis in preview text than subject lines. The thing that you do have to worry about emojis is emoji support, and that varies based off two factors, typically your email client and then your operating system. And typically the operating system is going to change how the emoji looks, and then it comes down to the email client, whether or not it typically supports emojis and displays them. Things like Outlook won't display them, but even on modern clients now, things like iOS versus Windows, they have completely different emoji sets, which has always maddened me. You want to talk about standards in email? Well, there needs to be standards in emoji because they're different across all the different OSs. It'd be great if we could just get a unified emoji standard. But again, that subject line checker tool in Litmus also has emoji support that it detects. And then finally, they looked at the three capitalization formulas for email subject lines: sentence case, title case, or all lowercase. 60% of email subject lines use sentence case, 34% use title case, and only 6% use all lowercase. And so using all lowercase may be something interesting to test out if you have the right brand for it. They have Val Geisler talk about how she uses it, and she has really high open rates and click rates with her email newsletter. So I'll take a look at that. So interesting article, some interesting data points here from AWeber. Thank you for the research. And this next tool I want to get into, we're going back to Litmus. This is a little old now at this point, but it's super useful, and I have not gone over it on the show yet. I was a small part of making this come to life, and it's just super helpful. And this is Process HTML in Litmus. So this lives in Litmus Builder, but I'm also going to show you a hack you can use for whatever screenshot in Litmus to access it. But Process HTML lets you look at the actual rendered, processed, altered code of email clients, right? So when we are testing emails, email clients are then processing that and converting that. They're transforming that markup into how their rendering engine actually reads it. And apart from sending emails to your local test inboxes in webmail clients like Gmail, Outlook.com, and using dev tools to inspect in the browser, for desktop apps and mobile apps, there's historically been no way to look at this Process HTML at all until this feature was launched. So when you're in Litmus Builder and you come and you run previews, when you dig into a particular screenshot, there's an icon on the top left. You hover over it, says View Process HTML. If you click on that, on the left-hand side in the editor, it's going to pull up that Process HTML. And on the right-hand side, it's going to give you a browser view. Now, the browser view isn't helpful because The browser view is using the rendering engine of whatever browser you're in, but you can use that to open up DevTools if you're more comfortable using DevTools to navigate. It also has grid view in the browser view if you want to use the native Litmus Builder navigation. But you can take a look and see exactly what the end result of the email markup is in these individual email clients. So here's Outlook 2013-120 DPI. I could exit out of this. I could go to, let's say, a mobile app here. Let's go to the Gmail app on Android. I can view the process HTML here, and you can just see exactly how it transformed this markup. And so this is incredibly helpful for several things. Most of the time, I use this when I'm trying to debug and troubleshoot certain email bugs. And I'm trying to figure out what in the heck is actually going on with this particular use case. Sometimes it's helpful to know what HTML or CSS is supported with things like code analysis in Litmus Builder, or if you're using a table chart like Campaign Monitor CSS Guide. But that can only get you so far if you don't know how it's actually transforming the end result. Sometimes you need to know what the end result is to be able to better target elements or debug things. And so this is what this view actually does. And this is revolutionary because this feature does not exist anywhere else. Nobody else has ever done it. So it's completely revolutionary. I have to give big applause to the engineers over at Litmus. This has been maybe one of the most useful features in my email development workflow ever. And yeah, you can just see what it looks like. It gives you a better understanding of the rendering engine at large. I've learned a lot about rendering engines of email clients, looking at these things and how they handle things. And it just gives you a better targeting method, targeting sense. So that's really useful. You can access this process HTML directly here in Litmus Builder. If you look at any screenshot as well, though, let's say you're using something like checklist, and you send in an email to Litmus checklist to your ESP, and you want to take a look at that. There isn't any way to directly access it in Litmus checklist, but if you take any Litmus screenshot, whether it's from Builder or checklist, and you take the screenshot, which is a PNG, just change that PNG extension to .html, and that's going to give you the process HTML version. And then from here, you can inspect DevTools or open up View Page Source to view the full source, and that's going to give you the rendered view. So this is accessible whether you're using Builder or Checklist, so whether you're just doing static render testing or you're trying to debug issues from your ESP, it's all accessible there. But process HTML is honestly one of the coolest features I've had the pleasure and privilege of working on, and I hope it helps all of you. It's helped me for a very long time, and I use it in pretty much, or I wouldn't say pretty much, but a lot of email newsletter sends that I do because it's helping me out in some way, shape, or form. And by the way, taking a look at this email that I'm just showing as a demo right now is from Email Tees, which is official apparel for email geeks and the proud sponsor of the Kevin Mandeville Show, which is just my fun project. So it's me sponsoring me. So yeah, there are things like t-shirts, hats, mugs, sweatshirts, long sleeves, you name it. It's just awesome official apparel for email geek. Just stuff to help rock your email geekdom out into the world. And we have next Thursday, January 31st, the Valentine collection is launching. We already have a bunch of things like the original collection. We did a collection for Halloween, for the holidays. Our next one, the Valentine collection. It's going to be all about the email love. So mark your calendars, get ready. That goes live. And make sure you check out emailtees.com. That's emailtees.com, and give a follow on Twitter and Instagram at emailtees. Sign up on that email newsletter as well to get updates when they first go live. All the design previews are going to be released over the coming week, so check that out. There's this cool new email. They're email templates, but I even kind of call it a UI kit with how much modules and components there are a part of it. This new one, it's called Tabler. It's just responsive templates here. You can buy it for $29, and it just looks really good. It's inspired by Bootstrap. So they're based on Bootstrap and material design principles, and I think you'll see that throughout a lot of the designs. It says they are tested. It didn't provide any litmus or email and acid tests. I didn't throw it in myself. I didn't buy it, so I didn't throw the test through. But you can take a look at the gallery here. Some of the emails, it just looks gorgeous. Very nicely done from the UI side. So if you're just looking for a strong, minimal sort of templates, this is definitely a good option out there for you. So I always like to share template resources whenever I can, because I know people are always looking for them. This is a good one. You can take a look at the full gallery, and you can download a sample. It's only one column layouts, 2 one column layout examples it provides. But if you just want to take a look at the code, get under the hood, it looks like this would render well in most of the clients. It's using table-based design. It uses a few Outlook conditional comments. So again, I didn't do a thorough inspection on the render testing side, but it looks like this would be fine. And there are some smart email hacks that went into it. So yeah, I think this could be a good resource if you're looking for email templates. Check out tabler.io. Just an interesting little concept here, publicemails.com, which is maybe very topical over the past few years. This is a new sort of website. They call it the easiest way to publish online. And you can publish the contents of any email publicly. All you have to do is send to publish@publicemails.com and it will publish it. But this could be a way to publish blog posts, which is just an interesting concept. So I just want to throw this out there. Maybe this serves as a source of inspiration for you with the side project, or if you're developing any type of app. I see this more and more from apps, companies like Basecamp. You can just, instead of having to use the app directly, you can reply to a thread via email, and then that gets updated in their app itself. So just an interesting way to interact with the web. People can just easily send emails, right? Especially if they're already in that environment interacting with content or your app in some way. So this is just an interesting way. It's not, I don't see that there's a public directory of any kind. So I don't know that this is anything that's going to be publicly shared with other people. They might just give you a link back. I didn't go through and have enough time to test it myself, but I just wanted to share because I think it's an interesting concept of you send an email to an email address and that gets published as a blog post or as content in your app. That could help it. I just wanted to share that methodology because I think it's really smart and really cool. So check it out at publicemails.com. And the final topic on today's show is actually an interesting discussion, maybe the most interesting of today's show, perhaps for some of you, is this new concept or debate going on of subscribers versus people. So Drip, the sort of CRM automation tool, they had a blog post come out over the past few weeks where they said they're getting rid of the term subscribers in favor of people. And so they're claiming that subscriber is cold, people are not. And they want to make that sort of have a change, a new inflection point in their business to where this is where they're viewing people, not as subscribers, but as actual humans, as actual people. And then Melanie Kinney had a separate follow-on blog post after we had a Twitter thread back and forth over the Drip article where she elaborated on her thoughts. And she, got this idea as well after seeing Logan Sandrock Beard and Jamie Bradley's presentation at Litmus Live this past year, seeing people, not just subscribers, cultivating one-to-one email experiences, or otherwise known as remembering how to human correctly email marketing as less of an asshole. And to where, the term person is greater than subscriber. And so she gives her example. She works at GasBuddy. It's something they strive. They have this feature for GasBuddy called a car profile where people can enter in their car's make, model, VIN number, and they can be told if there's a safety recall on the vehicle or not. And in the future, if that happens, GasBuddy will notify you if you're opted into these notifications of push and email. And so she, she's advocating that she likes this move towards a more human-centric vernacular. And my stance on this whole take is that I do not like this approach of just all. To me, the word people is just too vague. It's too vague. It's too vague. It's too generic. The term people, I don't know what you're talking about. Everybody is a person, and I get that. And we should be striving to have as personalized and human of an experience as possible with all of our marketing. That should be a core underlying tenet for all of us. That I don't debate. What I do debate is when we're trying to differentiate the state between our end users, using the generic term of people is not going to help anybody, because in my opinion, the term subscriber user, customer are three different states that could be applicable for a single company. You can't just have this overarching term of people to be used in both your software or internal communication and have that be effective at all. To me, that is way too confusing. It's way too generic. It's just not going to fly. I think you need to know what those individual states are. And to me, the underlying problem is not the vernacular in this case. It's really the culture of your company or how you do marketing, because you can be using those terms of customer, subscriber, user, and still do a great job of marketing and still have a human-centric approach. Just using the term people, in my mind, it's not as big of a deal. I think in other cases, when you're using a term like blast, email blast, it's more harmful for the industry and the perception of something. But I think in terms of a business state and business goals and understanding, it's really critical to have that level of clarity and specificity. So I'd love to know what you think. Subscribers versus people. What team are you on? What makes more sense to you? And I should probably come out with a blog post or maybe even a further video that really breaks down this conversation a little bit more. But those are my initial thoughts. I am team subscribers and users, customers, just to get a better idea of what these people actually are. All right, that's been this edition of the Kevin Mandeville Show. Reminder, we go live every Tuesday, Thursday, 12 p.m. Eastern time. Subscribe both here on YouTube and kevinmandeville.com/newsletter, and check out emailtease.com. TEES, emailtease.com, at emailtease, Twitter, Instagram, Valentine collection coming January 31st. Get ready for it. My Pats are going to the Super Bowl as well. I'm so hyped right now. I got my Pook on. It's cold, but I don't care. Check it out, pook.ca as well. No affiliation. I love the hat. It's so comfy. Nice wool. Got to give a shout out to them. All right, check you next time. Email Geeks. Bye. Good for workouts too, man. Just